You're listening to the AdCast with your host, Eric Elliott.
Oh man, I say this a lot, but boy, today do I mean this, man, that I'm excited to talk to someone. I'm on the line today with Miss Candice Patrick today. She is with the Shantell Law firm and sophisticated business owners. We're going to talk about that today. I'm excited to her because I think today is going to be a really cool education piece for a lot of the business owners that are out there. And we're not going to give a legal advice. So I'm going to just put that disclaimer out there. So if you want some legal advice, you're going to definitely have to call attorney Candice. But I just want to tell you something about her. She is phenomenal. And I paid attention to her. She got my attention on social. And I told our team, you have to find her. I want to be able to talk to her and have her on the show. I want to, because this is such a hot topic. And, I want to try my best and not screw up your impressive bio. But Candice is founder of Sophisticated Business Owners, and the Shantell Law firm. That's the Business Owners is your other brand that you're actually pushing on social media as well. You teach business owners how to protect and grow their business with trademarks, copyrights, and contracts, and you offer advice on social media as well as offering masterclass courses. You hear that? Masterclass courses and paid legal services. Candice, did I get that right?
You got it right. Good job.
Oh
And thanks
man.
so much for having me.
Oh man. So thank you. Like I said, I'm excited about having you on today because I think, not I think, but I know a lot of what you do, it is so needed right now. Because you see people getting in contract disputes, trademark disputes, and then they'll get into, like, is that a service mark, trademark? I want to go into all those things. But first, I would like you to kind of tell our audience a little more that I didn't tell them who you are and exactly what you do.
Absolutely. So I go by Candice Shantell. Shantell is my middle name, hence why I named my law firm Shantell Law. And I love practicing law. I've been, telling people since I was probably about 12 that, hey, I'm going to be an attorney. And I grew up on the south side of Chicago. So that was a bit far-fetched for a little kid like me to make that declaration, but I did it.
Oh man.
I went through law school with a newborn baby, and I graduated at the top of my class, magna cum laude. So that's awesome. And I moved here to Texas because I wanted somewhere warmer with a better economy. And I came here to start my practice, and it's been wonderful. I love working with business owners. And you mentioned my second business, Sophisticated Business Owners. I created that because I recognize some business owners want to learn how to do what I do. And some business owners necessarily couldn't afford the attorney fees. So I wanted to make being a sophisticated business owner is accessible to every business owner. So there's no excuse. And so that's who
Wow.
I am.
Wow.
And I appreciate you for having me.
No, I appreciate you for being on. I mean, that's pretty impressive, from Chicago down to Texas. I mean, what made you just say like, I want to go into law? I mean, you could have done anything, especially hearing like your resume. You could have been a real estate mogul for all we know. But what drew you to law?
Sure. So there is a lot of things. But I want to say the thing that hits home the most for me that made me, push me into that decision was I grew up in Child Protective Services. So,
Mm,
and in Illinois, we call it DCFS, right? And so I experienced living in group homes and shelters and foster homes and all of those kind of things. And when you're in that situation as a child, you kind of feel powerless, right? You don't have a mom or a dad around protecting you. And so I was the protector of myself, my friends, anybody around me. I was
wow.
like the protector. And I became very interested in the law because as a child in the system, every child is given what's called a GAL, so a guardian ad litem. That GAL is a licensed attorney that is responsible for reporting to the court on that child's behalf. And
Hmm.
so as a teenager, early teen, I started communicating with my GAL about things I had an issue with. So for example, if I didn't like a foster home, I would say, hey, this person doesn't buy me cereal that I like. I want Captain Crunch, whatever. And my GAL would tell me the law and the rules. Well, by law, they're
Right.
supposed to give you X amount of dollars for allowance. And I would say, I'm not getting that. They haven't given me. Or I want to go to prom, but I can't afford my prom dress. Well, by law, the agency is supposed to give you $800, right? So what I would do as a very, very young teen, I would go and schedule a meeting with the executive director of the agency I was with, and I would
Get out of
negotiate.
here.
I
Get out of
promise
here.
you.
No.
I promise you. And I would negotiate, and I would say, because I would run away a lot, right? So I have 4 brothers, and I've always been able to go wherever my brothers are. They would protect me, take care of me. I had a car at 16, so I would just run away. If I didn't like a foster home, I'm out. Peace, right? And so I would negotiate with the executive director. Look, if you want me to go to this new foster home and not run away, this is what I need. I talked to my GAL. My GAL said you're supposed to give me $800 for my prom dress. I need that, right? And so I realized early on, this is power. And so that was my way of being able to substitute not having a mom or a dad to protect me. So if somebody did something wrong, I would use the law. And the same, I would apply the same for my friends and things like that. And even today, now, I still do that for my daughter. If it's an issue at the school, I go legal, right? And so that was kind of the biggest portion of my life that really propelled me into wanting to be an attorney.
You know the old saying, they say the pen is mightier than the sword.
Absolutely.
Right? So you really took up the pen. You started paying attention to the pen.
Oh, yeah.
So you're a teenager. You're negotiating with this county state agency on what you need to get and what you deserve or what you're entitled to. And you were winning back then.
Oh, they gave it to me. Yep. I got the prom dress, and I'm still in contact with all of these people. They love me so much. They often invite me to Chicago to be a guest speaker and stuff like that. So they all laugh when they hear these stories if they're out there in the audience. Even my GAL that I had, at 12 and 13, Randy Tiggets, he still remembers me. So yes, absolutely. I would get what I'm asking for. I would say, hey, you guys aren't paying me my allowance. The GAL says I'm supposed to get this amount. I need that. Right.
Shout out to Randy out in Chicago. So now, you use that to kind of say, like, there's more that's happening for people. Now let's talk about like the business owners, because they were in that same position you were as a teenager. They didn't know what they were entitled to or what they could get, and they didn't know what the contract states. I mean, why are you so passionate about helping business owners?
Sure. So when I started law school, I was adamant about being a criminal defense attorney, right?
Okay.
And most Black people, that's all we really know when it comes to lawyers. If you're in trouble, you get a lawyer. If you get arrested, you get a lawyer, right? So that was my limitation on like what it meant to be a lawyer. And so I was heavily focused on criminal law, and I did very well. I always aced everything that had to do with the criminal law, right? And then towards the end of my studies, I started taking business law classes. And the reason why is we only had 2 Black legal professors. One taught entertainment law, the other taught business and corporate law. And I just felt like, as a Black woman, I need to say I sat in a class with a Black law professor. I just have to. And so I took their classes and I aced it. Both of those classes, I ended up getting the highest grade in the entire class on our final exams. That's how into the class I was.
Wow.
And so I learned about, business law, and it came to me easily and effortlessly. It was intriguing. And so I decided, you know what, there's a ton of criminal defense attorneys out there. Although I know I would be great, there's a ton of criminal defense attorneys out there. I really don't want to be depressed every day representing people in, these bad circumstances in the criminal justice system. So I'm going to shift my gear a little bit and focus on business owners where they're more at a happy place in their life. They just started their business, or they're already in business and they just need a little bit of legal help to help keep them on track or whatever. So that's how I shifted my mindset to focus on business owners. And once I started my practice, that's really in the beginning stages. That's all I would get was business owners needing contracts, or they need a trademark and things like that. So it was kind of like the universe was saying, yes, this is what we want you to do. So that was how I kind of did that, got into business law. So great question.
So how are they finding you?
So, man, people find me all kinds of ways. It's weird. So I wasn't always as popular on social media, I would be at events, and I've never been shy about introducing myself. So I would just tell people, hey, I'm Candice. This is what I do. This is type of law I do. And people would call me. And then they would tell their friends about me and their cousins. And then people would just call me. And so eventually I started, shifting gears with my social media and making it more about educating business owners. And once I did that, I started getting even more people from social media. So it just kept coming to me.
We work with lawyers all across the country, and I think the one thing that gets me about a lot of the lawyers is they don't know who they are. They don't know who they are, and a lot of them are willing to be whatever they need to be to get them the cases like the other guy is doing, right? Like the other guy or the other firm or the other girl's doing. So they're going to be like, well, that law firm's doing this, so we need to do that too. But what I'm noticing about you is that, and we said this before the call, is that you are you, and you talked about being yourself, and that's one of the things that really made me pay attention to you was, I was like, what is she saying? What is she doing? And it was like the way you broke down certain information, it really made people think. All right. It really made people think. So now I want to ask you, it's like when you are presenting information or topics in that way, do you feel like, I need to hold back, or do you just feel like this is how they're going to get it? This is how they're going to receive it, because you inform me and you entertain me, which is the two things that people come to social media for.
Mm-hmm. So early on in me getting into the TikToks and Reels, I did hold back a little bit because I was kind of nervous about how the public would receive me. Let's say, for example, if I had a song that had a curse word in it, for example, I would be nervous because I would be like, well, I don't want them to think I'm unprofessional, But then I got to a point where I said, if this is going to be fun for me, I have to do it my way, and I just have to do it, because in my everyday personal life, I'm a very classy and sophisticated woman, but I'm also funny, And so I said, I have to do it my way. So in the beginning, I did have some reservations, and then I just let loose and I said, you know what, I'm going to do it my way. And the thing that really kind of made me more confident in, just fully being myself is I would go out to different places and people would come up to me and say, hey, you're that lawyer. You make those reels and TikToks. Thank you so much. You made it so simple for me to understand intellectual property, or you made it so simple for me to know how to take my business to the next level. And I would say, really? You like it? Seriously?
Wow.
Because I think as human beings, we have ideas about how to proceed in our business or how to take ourselves to the next level, but we never know how the world is going to receive us. So when you get people coming to you saying, oh my God, I love you. Thank you so much for all that you do. And I even get a lot of inboxes like that. And so it just made me feel like, hey, it might be one or two people who don't like what I'm doing, but so what? Majority of the people love it. And that is my target audience. You know what I mean?
Right.
So,
Oh man. Well, maybe those people need you themselves and they're too afraid to reach out,
possibly.
So and now I want to go to something, and I want to dive a little deeper too, but there was one thing that actually caught my attention too. And this caught about 2.5 million people's attention too. Was there was a person, I think it was an Uber driver. They had come on and they had started saying like the person she picked up, had some infidelity. And the person changed their stop, and she took the person back home to his wife and caused like an argument. And you had opined on that. So I'd like to hear like your point of view in that whole story and how that came about. And
Awesome. Yes, that video is actually still going viral. I had no idea that it was going to get so big.
Mhm.
But I saw her video, I think this was maybe last Friday or so. And I immediately started, my lawyer brain, it just went crazy. I couldn't turn it off. Unfortunately, us lawyers, that's just how we are. We are not always trying to be lawyers, but it's natural. So my lawyer brain was just going off like, oh God, she's holding herself open to liability for this, and this. And I said, this is the perfect time for me to create more content. Okay. Instead of me always just sitting behind the screen and just me, sitting here and talking, I would do a reaction video to this. and see how it goes. And so I did that. I did a reaction video. And from my perspective, if she was one of my clients, or if the, alleged cheating husband was one of my clients, my legal issues would have been breach of contract, because obviously he contracted with her to drop him at a certain destination. She did not do that. She chose to abort the mission and take him back to his home to expose him with his wife and children. And I don't think you mentioned it, but for context purposes, the husband got in this woman's Uber, and then he subsequently had her pick up his mistress. And she overheard him and the mistress talking, and she put two and two together that he was cheating on his wife. And so instead of dropping him at the location he chose, she took him back home to his wife and children to expose him. Now, obviously, I don't condone cheating. Of course not, right?
Yeah.
But the legal perspective is, that could be constituting breach of contract because she didn't take him to the location he chose. It could also be intentional infliction of emotional distress, right? Because obviously that, could be seen as extreme and outrageous, right? Not taking a man to his destination and intentionally bringing him home to expose him to his wife and children while he has his mistress, right?
Yeah, regardless of how you morally look at it, I mean, it's actually it's the law.
It's the law. And then another thing that I didn't mention on my video, because TikTok only gives you 3 minutes, so I tried to cram as much as possible, is what she did could also be seen as kidnapping, simply because I'm sure, we haven't heard from the cheating husband. So we don't know if,
oh my gosh,
while she was about facing, reversing or whatever to take him back to his wife, we don't know what he said. But reasonable minds can assume that he said, hey, what are you doing? Hey, where are you going? This is not the way. Hey, no, you're supposed to be taking me to this hotel or whatever. So, taking someone against their will could be constitute kidnapping. So I gave my legal perspective and it just blew up, it blew up. And I'm grateful for the love and support that I've gotten for that. But one thing I did want to mention is that from that video, I did get hit up about, possible copyright infringement from using this woman's video. And so I do want to address that. So people who are on social media understand how to navigate social media. And so if you are posting a video, there is a switch at the bottom of the video, like an option to allow duets or to allow people to stitch your video. Right. If you do not want people to duet your video, then you should turn it off. Now, what I did is considered fair use, right? So under the law, if you're doing a reaction video or a critique, then it is not copyright infringement, okay? Yeah. So I wanted to make sure I put that out there because there's a lot of influencers and people on social media who have no clue on what copyright is, what copyright infringement is. Can they, respond to someone else's video? Can they not? And so, yes, you can respond to someone's video if they turn that button on and you have access to click duet. You can respond without infringing on their copyright.
Now let's talk about the copyrights, trademarks, service marks, and contracts. Let's start at the contracts first, because I think usually when you enter in a business relationship with someone, usually it's always that agreement. What are some things that people should make sure that they have inside of their contracts with people?
Awesome. So I go over this in extreme and thorough detail in my contract review masterclass. So I would direct your audience to definitely grab that, because I'm going through an actual contract on the Zoom showing them, right? But some things that I will talk about right now is jurisdiction. Okay. So jurisdiction is going to dictate if there's an issue or a beef, right? Someone breaches the contract. Where do you file the lawsuit? Because you can imagine in the US, I mean, there's so many different states, so many different counties. Where do you file the lawsuit? Yeah. Especially when you have two different business owners or two different companies that are based in different states. Right. So jurisdiction is very important because it's going to dictate where you file the lawsuit. So for example, I'm here in Dallas, Texas, but what if
Mhm.
I'm doing business with someone who's in Los Angeles, California? Well,
Okay.
if jurisdiction is in Los Angeles and then I need to sue for breach of contract, now I'm at a detriment because now I have to go fly into Los Angeles, California, right? Now
Wow.
I have to find an attorney in Los Angeles to handle this lawsuit. Well, my
Good
stomping
luck.
grounds are Dallas, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So jurisdiction is really important. Another tip I will give for contracts is to make sure that it includes, well, what I want to say, because I got like three things. Make sure that it includes what's called a merger clause. And the merger clause is also referred to as an integration clause, right? So
Hmm.
this is just saying this document that we are both signing is the complete agreement between us. Now,
Okay.
oftentimes, Eric, you might talk to your business partner before signing or after signing. You
Okay.
guys, new things might come up, right?
We'll be right back with more of the AdCast after a word from our sponsor.
So working with the craft crew from the get-go was very easy. Dealing with Eric right on the front end, I think it was Thanksgiving Day and he was emailing with me. Not that I expected him to return my emails. That's just the kind of service from the get-go that drew me to this company and ultimately led me to selecting this company. And then dealing with Terry and some of the other guys who were very professional. They walked me through the process of what this video production procedure would be like. It was very helpful and very comforting knowing that I would be taken care of and guided through this process. And then when the film crew got here, they were on time, they were sharp, they knew what they were doing, everything was set up efficiently, and I'm impressed.
When you open a business, you want to make sure that your presence is felt. Not just having your name on a billboard or having your name on the front of your building. You truthfully have to let everyone know that you're in business. So just because you go get your business license, that doesn't mean that the whole market's going to come running to you for your services. There's probably millions of you out there. So what are you doing to be loud and be noticed? You got to make your presence present. You deserve a very important place.
Yeah, yeah. Opportunities may come up, all that.
Right. But
Mhm.
you don't want the written contract to ever be in dispute. So that's why you put that merger clause to say this is the complete and final agreement, right? So
Yes.
if Bob calls me after we sign the agreement and says, well, Candice, actually $2,000 is not enough. I really think we should do three. And I agree to it. Well, then we need to draft a new contract, right? But if
Or
we never
an
draft
amendment or
right,
anything
you
like
can do
that?
that.
Okay.
But if you don't, then that written contract stands, right? So that's really important because sometimes you'll send a text message and think about new things, and then it just gets really
Yeah.
complicated. So you always want to put that merger clause in there to say, no, it doesn't matter what phone calls we had, what text messages, this is the complete and final agreement. If the parties ever decide to change the terms, then they need to change and amend the contract and re-sign, right? So that's another thing that I see in my practice. The business owners, don't pay attention to.
I agree with you because I think we're so focused on the how much you're going to get paid and how long what the term is,
Exactly.
and I think it's that's the salesperson in us, in our companies when we're doing business with another party, we're like, okay, we're going to get this much money for this long, and don't worry about it. There won't be any arguments, but then the minute something comes up, boy, oh boy. It's
Mhm.
like, man, I should have read that contract. Do you see that coming back on people often? Like, contract disputes or a lot of different issues there?
I do all the time, all the time, all the time. Like you said, you guys, most business owners just focus on the money. Okay, I'm supposed to
Mhm,
get paid
mhm,
10 million. It says 10 million. I'm signing. But there's a
mhm.
lot of different loopholes that us attorneys intentionally put in contracts. I'm an attorney. I'm telling you all, when a client asks me to draft a contract for them, I intentionally put petty things in there because I'm protecting my client. I don't care about the person signing it. It's their job to
Right.
get their own attorney to review it and advise them. So I see a lot of people make that mistake where they only look at the money and they sign, right? And so it might be a provision in there, that says, hey, if you don't do this service within a certain amount of time, you have to give me my money back.
Right. Well, what about this though, Candace? What if they have a contract, right? And they had it drafted by just a general lawyer and not someone who's as specific as you are in contracts and trademarks and service marks. So they have a contract and they enter into an agreement, things fall out, and now they come to you and they say, "Can you review this contract?" Has there ever been a time where, and I know you offer the master class, and I want to definitely make sure we put notes to that link to it. But has there ever been a time where you have to kind of almost redo something because it's like this is what you do as far as contract disputes or writing contracts, but the other attorney who put it together was just kind of rocket lawyering or legal zooming the thing, you know?
Yeah, so I won't say that I get bad contracts too often from other lawyers, but I will say business owners themselves try to draft contracts, right? So they'll draft their own contract, they'll copy and paste from Google or Rocket Lawyer or whatever, and then they'll come to me later when it's an issue and say, "Can you help me?" Right?
Yeah.
And so then when I'm reviewing it, I'm like, "Who drafted this? What happened?" So I definitely get that. I definitely get that quite often. But the most common issue I see with contract matters is either the business owner doesn't draft a written contract, it's a verbal agreement, or two, someone else gives them the contract to sign and they don't have their own attorney review it. They just sign it. So whenever there's an issue, now you're kind of the person would be at a disadvantage because contracts are still enforceable if they're verbal, but now you have to prove that the contract exists, right?
Wow.
So now we got to go and piece together text messages, emails, right, to try to prove, yes, we had a contract, So yeah, it gets kind of crazy with those contracts.
That's so interesting, man. So and that's kind of the ground level. So now let's talk about like let's talk about the trademarks and service marks because a lot of people don't know the difference. And luckily me, I don't know if you saw it, I just got my name patented through the US PTO. So I was gonna
Yeah, I saw the R
was
on
gonna
on the end of your logo.
you like that? You like that,
Yeah,
Candy?
I liked it.
So, let's talk about the difference between the service marks and the trademarks. And do they have the same power?
So the service mark first I'll talk about the trademarks just in general. So the trademark is a type of intellectual property that you use to protect your brand. Okay.
Okay.
And so obviously we know that there's different type of brands. It might be a brand that sells a service. Okay. So if they're selling a service, like for me, I run a law firm, Shantell Law, I'm providing a legal service. So my trademark is a service mark, right? And it's not a big deal at the end of the day. It's just a legal terminology. It's a service mark, right? But, if I'm selling a good, so like my digital courses and ebooks and stuff like that, those are digital goods, that would be a trademark because it's goods, not services, right?
Okay.
So that's just a different legal terminology we use when you're in the intellectual property realm.
So now, I mean, they're really like cousins, like you said on social. They're like cousins that get along,
Absolutely.
So how about like protecting your work? Because I've seen a lot of people who are actually giving you positive reviews and saying great things about you and how you help them protect either their name or their work, right? So has there ever been a situation where you've seen like, someone starts a business and then soon they got to change it because they didn't do the due diligence or they didn't protect it the right way?
All the time. And it's
Oh
and
my
it's like
gosh.
heartbreaking for me because I have to be the bearer of bad news and say, you just got to rebrand, or
Yeah.
sorry, somebody else beat you to the punch. They own this trademark and I don't think yours is going to get approved, right? And just to hear the business owner's voice or look at their face and see how defeated they feel when I tell them that, it can be very heartbreaking. But the good thing is you always have a chance to rebrand. You might not want to rebrand. It might cost you more money to rebrand. Your audience might go through that little small process of you being in between the old name and the new brand. But
Right. Transition period for that. Yep.
yeah, so I see it all the time, and it sucks for business owners, right? And so that's why, I go so hard on social media with educating people about trademarks. It's not just because I'm bored and I have nothing to do, right? But I just feel for people when they have to rebrand. I feel for
Right.
them when they're so attached to a business name or a logo or whatever,
hmm
and they find out that they can't use it anymore.
Well, what if they've been using it for 5 years and they never did trademarking it or service marking it, and then someone else comes along and they've been using it for 1 year and they trademark it?
hmm So the problem is there's a period during the trademarking process called publication.
hmm
And during the publication, the USPTO allows anyone in the world to oppose this person's trademark, right?
hmm
So that will be the time in which the person with the 5 years should challenge it. But the problem is you
They
have
don't
to
pay
have an
attention to it.
attorney who's right. How would you know? You have to either be really paying attention, or you have to have an attorney on board, right? And
Yeah.
so that's really the only way, unless you want to, the person will try to sue after the fact, like after they got the trademark approved and registered, and then the person with 5 years found out, they could try to sue. But it's kind of a difficult case once the person gets the trademark. So that's why you want to make sure you file for your trademark first. And then, Lord forbid, if while you're waiting on your trademark, someone else has a trademark similar or the same,
Yeah.
and you have superior rights than them, then you oppose their trademark.
So now, what do you do when you have the trademark and then someone uses it?
Oh, so then in that case, you would come to me and say, "Hey, Candice, look, I own this trademark, right? Of course, because you filed it, Candice. And I see this person, they're using my trademark." And then I will say, "Oh, no. Oh, let me get them." And I'll put on my, Superwoman costume. And then I would send them a cease and desist letter. And I would say, "That's my client's property, right?
hmm
And you need to stop using it or I'm going to sue you." Right. And then typically the person will get scared and they stop using the mark. If they don't, then we sue them.
So one of the things that you said when we were talking in the beginning about contracts, which is important in contracts is jurisdiction. But in trademarks and service marks, trademarks and service marks, there is no jurisdiction, really, is there?
So it's federal. So
hmm
when and I know I mentioned that sometime on my social media because people will ask me, "Hey, you're in Texas, I'm in Illinois. Are you still able to do my trademark?"
hmm
Yes, because the most powerful trademark is the federal trademark, right?
Okay.
Now, within the states, you can get a Texas trademark, right, with the Texas Secretary of State. But why
hmm
would you do that in this day and age when everyone's on social media? You want to have a
Yeah.
federal trademark so you own it within the US. So that's why I bring up jurisdiction when it comes to intellectual property. But if we're going to sue someone with regard to the intellectual property, we would still have to follow the rules of civil procedure. So it'd be the federal rules of civil procedure that let us know what jurisdiction we're going to sue in and things like that.
Now, has the internet made it more difficult, to be able to manage, keep up with trademarks and copyrights and all that other stuff now? Because, I mean, now that you have the Facebooks, TikToks, and Instagrams, the world is a lot bigger than it was before.
Mhm. Yeah, it is. And it's getting even worse, kind of. Social media is a great thing, but it comes with a lot of responsibility when you're a business owner, and not
hmm
just business owners, but entertainers too. Anyone who owns intellectual property, because now you have to worry about, you have all of the social media platforms. You right, Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, whatever. But now we're going into the meta world, the
Wow.
metaverse.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Right now, we got to worry about people in this virtual world
Yeah.
using our trademarks, right? And so it kind of creates an issue of policing,
hmm
so to speak, because no one is everywhere at every time.
Yeah.
So it makes it harder to keep up with or to see who's using your stuff and things like that.
hmm
So nonetheless, what's in the dark always comes to light. So eventually, if someone's using your mark, you'll find out about it. But yeah, it does, social media and things like that, it does make it a little harder.
how about protecting your work? how about you protecting your work? And let's just say us, because earlier you were like, throw your scenarios out there. Okay. So we create a video, and I know whenever we do videos, we always tell people don't make derivative works out of our work, and we license it to them. Can people take your work and do whatever they want? Because they think a lot of, clients would believe, hey, I paid you to do a video. That's my video.
Hmm. So what I suggest is, all of your videos, and it might sound like a hassle, but all of your videos, copyright them. Like
Mm.
actually go to the federal copyright office and U.S. copyright office and copyright them.
Mhm.
The reason why I say that is because you have more rights when you have an actual registered copyright. So when
Mhm.
someone does breach it, you have statutory damages, meaning they'll be responsible for your attorney fees and things like that. Now, without a registered copyright, you can still sue, but one of the prerequisites to suing is getting a registered copyright.
Wow.
And then if you don't have a registered copyright at the time the person infringes, you don't get the statutory damages. You
So,
see what I
so
mean?
oh yeah, totally. I get it. Just doing your due diligence, but let's just say if you had a painter out in Dallas, and he paints something for someone, who owns that painting, or who owns the photos of what they do?
Yeah. So he would own it for sure, right? So he could I see a lot of painters, they'll paint one original work and then they'll photocopy the rest, right? So the actual person who creates it owns it. Okay.
Mhm.
Now if you pay someone, that's considered a work made for hire. The only
Mhm.
way in which the creator actually transfer over their ownership rights is if you have them sign a contract doing so.
Wow.
Other than that, they still own the rights to that. So even though you might have paid them to create the original painting and you have the original, Picasso or whatever in your house, well, if that person wants to replicate that or photocopy it and keep selling it, they can.
Mhm.
Unless, of course, you have a written contract where you're having them actually transfer over all of those rights to you.
Candice, this is so interesting. This is so interesting. And now let's talk about your courses that you have. Let's talk about
Okay.
these master classes, because I really want to leave some jewels. I want to give people some jewelry today. So talking about these master classes, tell me like some of the classes that you offer and what people should expect when they go into these master classes.
Okay. So one of the first classes that and the most popular is the do-it-yourself trademark course.
Okay.
And as just like it sounds, it's me teaching you step by step how to file your own trademark application. Okay. And so I'm a visual learner. And so
Mm-hmm.
I always give visuals in my courses. So you'll see me on the computer screen, I'm talking to you. And you'll also see me share my computer screen, and I'll show you me filing a live trademark application for one of my clients
So
who got
this is recorded.
right. It's
Okay, got it.
pre-recorded. It's pre-recorded. That way you can watch it anytime. You can go back and rewind stuff or whatever. And you're actually seeing me go step by step in my own application for one of my clients,
Okay.
who approved me to show their application, of course. And you're seeing me go line by line. Here, you need to do this. Here, you need to do that. And I'm showing you step by step so that you can get your application filed.
Mm-hmm.
We're in the process now of adding on the option for you all to, when you pay for your course, to also add on the option of having me review your application just for like a peace of mind. And
Right.
I included that because I got people reaching out to me like, your course is so easy. I filled out the application, but I'm nervous. And I'm like, why are you nervous?
I need
Well,
you to
I'm
hold
just
my
nervous.
hand.
Right. Can you just look at it and
Right.
tell me yes? And I'm like, okay. So we're adding that new one on just for the people who just want the extra peace of mind. But it's super easy. And then the second course I have is the contract review master course.
Okay.
And like we talked about earlier, it's me giving you all the major nuggets, the do's and the don'ts with regard to contracts for your business, right?
Mm-hmm.
So don't do this, don't sign this. If you see this provision, pay attention, right? How to protect your intellectual property when you're doing business deals and things like
Mm.
that. So that is what the contract review master course is about. and it's extremely extensive, right? Like I'm going through so much. I'm giving examples on circumstances to really hone in for business owners when they should use these terms and when they shouldn't. And then at the end of the contract review course, I pull up an actual business contract that I drafted, and we go through it together, where I'm showing you the mind of an attorney. I'm telling you, and I'm showing you what I'm actually thinking as I'm reviewing this contract, right? I intentionally put tricky provisions in there for the purpose of the master course. So I can say, we see this provision. We talked about this. Do we want this in here? No, right? So it kind of really makes it less formal and less scary for business owners to look at a contract, because this is the thing, nothing will substitute legal advice, right? You always want to go and talk to your attorney. But what I see over and over is so many people just keep reviewing the contract themselves, signing it on their own without an attorney.
I'm guilty. I've done that before too. Not kidding. I'm guilty. I'm so guilty of it. I've done it before. And so now, what about things like we mentioned the Rocket Lawyers and the Legal Zooms, and we don't see anything wrong with people using those, but those seem like they're more consumer sites, right? So what do you find like it's best to still get things drafted through an attorney versus kind of going sight unseen and ordering a standard document from those kind of sites?
Yeah, so you'll never hear me talk bad about another legal organization or anything like that. But what I will say is, if you're gonna pay for a document or use a document in your precious business, you want it to be customized. A lot of times those quick online sites, they'll give you a document. It might have some good things in there, but is it truly tailored to what you need it for? Another thing, when I'm working with clients, I make them fill out a contract questionnaire. So that way I know, what are your major concerns? Because a lot of times people, they know what they're worried about going into a deal. So like a person might say, well, I'm worried that, this person, they might mess up somebody's hair and then I'm responsible. So if I'm letting them come in my salon and rent out a chair, I don't want to be worried. I don't want to be responsible if they burn somebody's hair or put too much perm, whatever. So people can communicate their concerns, but they don't know how to articulate the legal language to protect them. So when you're working with me, you're able to get everything tailored because I'm listening to what your concerns are, and then I in turn put it into the correct legal language in the contract to make sure you're protected. You know what I mean?
That's a big part too, because a lot of people, they feel like whenever they sit down with an attorney, they feel like everything's going over their head and they don't get it.
Yeah. And so one thing I always try to do, and something that people have always praised me for, is I try to be a great teacher. So when you're working with me, it's not just me taking your case. I try as much as possible to teach people what I'm doing, because it's not all about money. But I want you, even when I'm not around, I want you to be able to be sophisticated, right? So you'll see me say, okay, I drafted this contract for you. Now let's have a consult and go over your questions or whatever. If you see something that says the indemnification clause and you confused out of your mind and you really want to ask Candice, what does this mean? Jump on a call with me and I can explain, right? Now, I don't know I mean, you're not going to think like a lawyer after me, right? Because it took us, so much.
But you'll be aware. But you'll be aware,
right? You'll be more aware than you were before you started, for sure.
Candice, why do you care so much?
Oh, I'm just the type of person where I like helping people. I'm the person in my family and within my network, people call me for help, whether it's they have a code and they want to know what herb to use, all the way down to they're in some legal trouble and they need help. I genuinely like helping people. And being a lawyer is a lot of power. And so it's just in my heart naturally to want to help people. Of course, I got to pay my bills too. But at the end of the day, it's just genuinely in my heart to want to help people. And to be honest with you, I love when I can be the savior. Candice got it. She did it. We got the trademark.
She's got the case.
We won the lawsuit. They breached the contract. We won. We got our money back. I enjoyed that, right? Because now I'm no longer that little girl just protecting me. I'm this grown up now, and I'm able to use my power and authority to protect other people, so to speak. So yeah, good question.
Man, you very, very rarely do you run across someone who generally loves what they're doing. And there's going to be some people who may watch this episode, and there's going to be a lot of people who listen to it, but they can probably hear you smiling from ear to ear. And I really believe that you're genuine in what you're doing. I really do, and I love what you're doing. I think it's great. So anyone out there, Candice, I want you to tell people how to get in touch with you. I want you to tell them your websites. Give them your phone number, give them everything except your social security number, Candice. But I want them to reach out to you in case they need you.
Sure. So as far as getting in contact with my law office, you want to call us at 844-480-0480. Okay.
Mhm.
And then as far as social media, you can follow me on all channels as Sophisticated Business Owners. So YouTube, go ahead and subscribe. Facebook, Instagram, Sophisticated Business Owners. Now TikTok is different. TikTok is Business Lawyer 22. And
So,
that's how you can get in contact with me. The website is the name of my firm, chantelllaw.com. But it's easier if you just hit me up on social media or call my office, and we'll get you taken care of.
Did you ever think there'd be a day where lawyers get leads from social media, where someone's calling them through Facebook?
Listen, Eric,
You know?
when I was in law school is when social media kind of really started like picking up.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're in law school, you're focused solely on the law, because in your mind, you're like, I'm going to be rich. I just need to finish this school, pass the bar. And you're not paying attention to those folks on social media who over there doing dances and all that stuff. You think they're wasting their time.
Yeah.
And so an example that I laugh about all the time is when I was in law school back in, 2014, when I started, I remember Jess Hilarious. You know Jess Hilarious, right? The female comedian.
No,
you gotta check her out. She's
Okay,
a Black
I'll do
female comedian,
Mhm.
and she's very popular on social media. I want to say she has like 5 million followers, but she's hilarious, just like her name.
I gotta find her.
Definitely check her out. So in law school, I remember she was kind of just starting out, just had a couple thousand followers, and I would laugh at her video. Oh, she's so funny. And I remember finishing law school, and she blew up. And I said, whoa,
Tyler Perry is like that. He was like that. I remember watching him on VHS in the barbershop.
Absolutely. So that's just a little joke as to us attorneys. It was out of our comfort zone to get on social media because we are showing more of ourselves. A lot of times people think of lawyers as just, we're always in a suit. We're always very prim and proper, but the reality is we're real people too, right? I like to date. I go on dates. I like to have fun. I dance, and so it kind of got us out of our comfort zone a little bit, but I enjoy it because now people are seeing attorneys as being more relatable. So we're less scary, right? They're more likely to come to us now. So I think all in all, it worked out for the best.
Now, do you think, a lot of, we talked about this in the beginning of the call too, about a lot of minority business owners where you find like, they have got the will, got the spirit and everything else, just need that help, just need that education on things. Do you see that a lot?
Oh yeah, all the time. And it's not just the minorities. It's a lot of different ethnic groups, right? And all different economic statuses as well.
Mhm.
You would think it's people from the urban areas, the minorities from the urban areas who are just unaware of how to be a sophisticated business owners. But
Mhm.
listen, I've had clients making millions.
Yeah.
And they didn't have anyone reviewing the contract. They've just signing contracts, right? Just getting sued left and right. And so it's I've seen all different backgrounds of people who just were not educated, but it's
There you
okay.
go.
That's what I'm here for.
I'll be honest with you. I think it's the majority of business owners have no idea.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of us, we are good at what we do, and that's why we find people like you all. So I'm thankful that you're on the episode today. So everybody, I want to definitely thank Miss Candice Patrick of the Shantell Law Firm for giving us her time today. Thank you to our video production crew, Craft Creative, for actually sponsoring today. And also thank you for giving us your most valuable asset, which is your time. We're going to make sure that we have this episode up everywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast, and it'll also be available on YouTube. And again, please go follow Candice. Please, please, please go follow her. You will not be sorry. I will tell you, people go to social media for two things. They want to be educated and they want to be entertained, and you'll get all of that and more from just following her. She makes the law fun. You make the law fun. All right. So I want to thank everybody for watching the AdCast, and Candice, thank you again. This is the AdCast. Hey guys, I'm back. I hope that you enjoyed that episode of the AdCast. If you didn't, go online, give me a review, and tell me how you want us to make it better for you. And if you did, give us a 5-star rating anywhere that you listen to your favorite podcast. But I want to thank you for your most valuable asset. That's your time, and thank you for listening. Enjoy the AdCast, and stay tuned for another hot episode coming up soon.